All right, let's get stuck in. As we've been reporting already tonight, senior Tory MP Simon Clarke has now called for Rishi Sunak to go. Chaos has unravelled as other senior Tory MPs like David Davies, Sir Liam Fox are calling for calm and for the Prime Minister to remain in post. Priti Patel has also come out. I'll bring you her statement in full shortly, saying now is not the time to be essentially blowing up Downing Street. As I speak now, another Tory MP, Conor Burns, voters won't forgive self-indulgence infighting. We have a job to do. We should get on with it. Politics isn't a game. We serve people, and it is trust. Those who can't accept that should shut up or shove off, right? So it is now a Tory party in turmoil. If it wasn't before, it absolutely is now. Big questions to be answered tonight. Will other MPs follow Simon Clarke over the top? Will this now result in enough letters of no confidence to go into call a vote of no confidence? Should there be a snap election? What's really going to happen next? And I am joined by political commentator Suzanne Evans, political commentator Alex Armstrong, and author and journalist Rebecca Reid. Alex, I'm just going to go to you first, just because I believe Nadine Dorries, a former prominent member of the Conservative Party, she's been piping up. What's she been saying?
Yeah, she's saying this is all part of the plan that she wrote about in her book to install David Cameron as Prime Minister. A very devious plan she thinks that's going to take place at some point before the election. I don't know how much that holds up to the truth of it all, for being honest. A little bit of fun, though, nonetheless, from Nadine. What's less to expect from her, really? You know, what's really interesting about all of this, that it seems to all link back to Rwanda, doesn't it? All of these resignations are all coming back because of the immigration failure, the failure to pass this bill. So maybe this is where Rishi has to actually double down. Let's get this through. Let's find a way through. But I do think it sparks a very, very interesting conversation about how the Tories move on from this.
Yeah, go on.
I think it's quite interesting. You've now got Conservative Party Tory MPs coming out of the woodwork saying we've got to have calm, we've got to slow down, we've got to back Rishi. But this is not the end of this. Whatever happens tonight, whether other people fall in behind Simon Clarke or not, this is not the end. Remember, we've got a by-election coming up in Wellingborough. The Reform Party have a very strong candidate there in the form of Ben Habib, a former MEP and a businessman. How are Reform going to do? Reform do well, the cause will start again. Then, of course, we've got the local elections on May the 2nd. If the Conservatives do badly in those, again, more calls like this are going to happen. The polls are going to get even worse. This is going to run and run for months.
May I just very quickly add, I do think it's a little bit rich for a lot of these MPs who have stabbed other Prime Ministers in the back, twice actually, Liz Truss and Boris, let's not forget, to now be saying, oh, we need to get behind this, it's a bad thing to do, you shouldn't do this. I mean, they've been doing this for the last couple of years, so a little bit rich.
If you're just joining us or you've been living on the moon for the last hour and 8 minutes, there have now been calls for Rishi Sunak to go. Simon Clarke MP has issued a scathing statement. I will reveal some of that to you now, read out some of it to you now. The British public cannot fathom why our government is letting tens of thousands of people illegally cross the Channel every year. He writes, the Prime Minister seems to have sadly accepted novel, extreme and anti-democratic interpretations of international law that effectively tell the British people they cannot have a border. He also goes on to say that if Nigel Farage returns to the political front row, that would be oblivion, and that the Tories basically have to get rid of Rishi Sunak now if they're going to stand any chance of winning at the next election. And in recent days, we've seen that the Treasury has been shock horror dictating to our government about the idea that we cannot possibly reduce immigration, otherwise GDP will go in the toilet. What about GDP per capita, may I add? We've had a Home Secretary who appears to have rowed back when it comes to things like student visas, when it comes to things like the salary cap, etc. And now we're going to let channel migrants work. So all of this, I think, has come together for a perfect storm. Rebecca, how do you see this planning out in the days to come?
Even if you did feel those things were an issue, and for me, they're not the most pressing issues in the country by some margin, but even if you felt that way, I don't think anybody in this country is stupid enough to think that it would be possible to have a full leadership election, install somebody else, and then have them implement any kind of policy, let alone get the Rwanda plan off the ground, which nobody seems to be able to do. Multiple people have attempted it, people whose jobs would have been made for life if they'd managed it. So I just think, honestly, there is a dignity in giving up and going gently and thinking about a longer-term strategy, not trying to fight this dirty, nasty, childlike election.
All right, I have an anonymous Westminster source who's just WhatsApped me now, saying Tory MPs' WhatsApp group is kicking off. People are so peed off. I won't read that out. With selfish stunt from Simon. Simon Clarke MP also tweeted, and this is a little while back, right? My loyalty to Liz Truss and Boris Johnson was sincere to the last, and I appreciate deeply the opportunity they gave me. But I meant every word that I said yesterday. So this is back in October 2022. Conservatives must unite under our new Prime Minister. We should all ensure that Rishi Sunak succeeds. He has my support. So they're coming out basically now essentially calling Simon a little bit of a hypocrite. I do have a quote as well here, a statement from Priti Patel, former Home Secretary, that says this: at this critical time for our country, with challenges at home and abroad, our party must focus on the people we serve and deliver for the country. Uniting and serving the country must be our priority. Engaging in facile and divisive self-indulgence only serves our opponents. It's time to unite and get on with the job. David Davies has tweeted, this is getting silly. The party and the country are sick and tired of MPs putting their own leadership ambitions ahead of the UK's best interests. It is really about time that these people realise they have a duty to the country that is greater than their personal leadership ambitions. I'm going to go to Liam Fox now, and then we'll go back to the panel. This is not the time for self-indulgence and tribalism in the party. Those who have an agenda to destabilise the government in an election year should understand the consequences. Having been on the front bench for all 13 years in opposition, it's a miserable place. Be warned. What Simon Clarke is saying, Suzanne, is they're heading for opposition anyway. They've got one more chance at rolling the dice here with a new leader. Could you even see a way in which the Tories have a leadership contest before the next general election?
Look, anything is possible in politics. A week is a long time in politics, let alone the next 9 months or so. So, yes, it's certainly doable. For me, the Conservative Party is so divided. It needs to split now. Really.
You think it needs to split?
I think it does. It is beyond repair. You've got the left of the party, you've got the right of the party. Never the twain shall meet. You've got the left wing of the Conservative Party that, in my opinion, has come so far away from their fundamental values of freedom, responsibility, law and order. And you now got this sort of more globalist, still very much pro-EU section of the party too. And the party's in a mess. Perhaps it needs to be in opposition for 10 years to sort itself out. I hope that doesn't happen, because I frankly don't want to see another Labour government run that long. The last Labour Party did the most appalling damage to this country in their 13-year term of office, changed the face of this country.